Hello, good morning to you, and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. I am Justin Akadolian.
And I'm Stephanie Ojani. Good morning, everyone. Um, Today seems to be one of those days that seems to be draggy. I don't know. Do you ever feel like Tuesdays are kind of draggy?
Well, not necessarily, but sometimes some days just gets by on its own, and you
Yeah,
don't
like
even
it just starts so slow and dull and all of that. And I guess because I have like
have a bit of
Qatar,
a
it's
cold.
kind of like making it seem like today's just weird and all of that.
I
Okay,
guess.
but we're going to be talking about the National Assembly resuming from recess. The National Assembly went on recess for quite a while, and I remember when they went on recess, there was a lot of controversies because
That's
of the
true.
fact that at that point in time, that was when defections was hitting the APC and the PDP,
Yes.
and then of course the president defected, so they needed to they wanted to resume almost immediately so they could see if they could impeach him and all of that. And then of course we have the INEC budget, which was supposed to be signed and released so that funds could be released for INEC against the 2019 elections. We also have the electoral amendment bill, which the president has refused to assent. So there's like so much happening. And today, of course, there'll be so much going on because I mean, these are people who just came back from politicking, so now they know where their stand is. They know
Yes.
how the elections are going to play out for next year. So one can only imagine how many
How
issues
it will
they will be
in the
dealing
future.
with now when they resume. And of course, I think the biggest issue that we should be looking at now is how they want to get the Senate President and
And
the Speaker,
Speaker of the House of
House of
Representatives.
Representatives,
Yeah, I
how
was
they
going to
want to
say
get
that.
them away from, maybe leaving their positions or something. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I think that's what's on the front burner of
Of
every
discussion,
of
yeah.
every discussion for the National Assembly. So,
All right. Well, the thing is that it is going to be a very interesting discussion. So I will implore all of you watching us, if you have contributions, if you have comments to make concerning what should be at stake for the National Assembly as they resume from their, from their recess today, feel free to do so by sending us an SMS, or you can also interact on social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. Now, 75 days after members of the National Assembly resume today from their annual recess, in the Senate, the session may be stormy on account of plots to remove Senate President Kola Saraki and his deputy Ike Kurimato, just as members of both parties traded words over the issue sometime Monday. While the PDP warned their APC colleagues not to beat the drums of the war, some APC senators vowed that the Senate President will be removed at the slightest opportunity. We'll be looking at that plus the Electoral Act Amendment as Stephanie has said today, plus approval for INEX Fund. All of that we'll be talking about on the show today. But we'll take a quick break. We have guests here in Lagos, Abuja, and Ibadan. We'll be right back to join us again after this quick timeout.
Nothing beats expression from creativity. Craft that speaks a volume. An artist and his work. Galaxy Television, in conjunction with the National Museum of Unity, Ibadan, presents Arts and Craft Exhibition 2018. If you're mastering any form of art like drawing, paintings, ceramics, photography, textiles, sculptures, jewelry, and lots more from Lagos, Akure, Ibadan, and other parts of Nigeria and beyond,
Royal Father of the Day is Imperial Majesty Oba Adeyeye Eni.
What would you rather be watching during your lunch hour? Galaxy Television bringing to you a program that brings you closer to social media, trend the
This
stories,
agenda, like you just read out.
breaking news,
There is nothing happening in Kogi beyond the government house that suggests that a governor who is responsible to the people is in charge.
issues that affect you and family. The Bars, showing from 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's entertaining, interactive, and buzzing. The Bars, the program that keeps you glued to your television.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Galaxy today. We have Dr. Saka Balogo standing by in Ibadan as he joins us to look at the burning issues in the front burner of the National Assembly. Good morning to you, Dr. Balogo. Let us look at what to expect as the Senate and the House of Representatives begin today after a recess of 75 days. There are talks of a stormy session, because of what happened with the defection just before they went on recess, where lots of lawmakers moved from their party to the other party. In your opinion, what do you see playing out as regards the leadership of the National Assembly?
Any commotion or controversy or whatever, the National Assembly, by our constitution, rules and regulations, should be able to do his own business, to run his own business. And that is position. I am not a lawyer, but I know from practice and antecedents that the National Assembly elects both the Speaker in the House of Reps, the House of Representatives, and the Senate President in the Senate. And the rules governing such election are there and clear. A simple majority to be installed. But to be removed, it requires 2/3 majority of the entire number of the members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate, respectively. So, if the APC has a number, what is the controversy? Let them get there, take the necessary procedure, and get them. If you don't have the number, they should not precipitate any unnecessary and avoidable crisis in this country for now. Because if they don't have the number and they want to use the police or the SSS to intimidate, harass, and arrest, the aftermath can be very dangerous. And the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching Nigeria. So let there be peace. Peace in the Senate, peace in the House of Representatives, and peace in Nigeria. Let them follow the rules. And I know both the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and Kagara, as the Speaker, will abide by whatever decision the respective houses take in accordance with the existing laws, not by external forces using extraneous forces and powers to disrupt the normal working of the National Assembly. That's my position. There should not be any controversy, there should not be any commotion, there should not be any trouble, and it should not precipitate unnecessary crisis. Because once you do it, you know where it starts. You never know where it's going to end. So everybody is warned.
In a bit, let's take the legal perspective now. We have joining us here in our legal studio, a legal practitioner, Barrister Ahmed Abbas. He talked about not being a lawyer, talking about how it plays out at the Senate and House of Representatives, today and of course in the coming days and weeks. Looking at what transpired before they went on recess. Now, a lot of people are saying it is not really sure what the position of the leadership of both houses would be like. In your opinion, what does the law say, and what do we expect to see?
Thank you, Justin. The position of the law is very clear, and almost all Nigerians have come to, have been enlightened to know that in the choice of the leadership of the National Assembly, it takes just simple majority of those who are sitting. But when it comes to their removal, it requires 2/3 of the entire House. So now what the present leadership is hinging their position on is, will APC be able to muster the required 2/3 in each of the houses to impeach their principal officer? Will they be able? Especially with even the fallout of all the fallout of the primaries in the parties. So many people like in APC are actually bitter as of today. So many of them. Even the president's wife was said to have said there's impunity in APC. People bought form only for them to get to the primaries and their names were not there. Why did you allow them to buy form in the first instance? So, such people, if they are members of the Senate or the House of Representatives who have suffered in the hands of their own party such impunity, what do you think will likely be their action if their party is trying to impeach the principal officer? Are you sure they are going to stand with their party? Okay. So it's neither here nor there. We don't even know the antics, because in a society where people do not obey simple rules, where the rule of law is not the order of the day, you never can say. You were in this nation when the National Assembly was invaded with men of the Department of State Security, hooded men, in broad daylight in 24th century. So we don't know what will happen. Whether they are going to be, whether the principal officers are going to, I don't know. It's neither here nor there. So we just leave it, because you see, when you live in a society where there are no rules, you can't predict anything. What rules and regulation, rule of law does is that it brings a scientific, perspective to things. And what does science do? It brings order, it brings certainty, it brings predictability. When there are rules and regulation and everybody abide by rule, you can always predict the outcome. That this is what be there. That is the essence of science, the law. The essence of science the essence of law in any society is so that there will be a scientific perspective to issue. Like I said, science brings order, it brings certainty, and it brings predictability. You can always say this is the outcome if everybody follows the rule. But in Nigeria today, our leaders don't follow the rules. Everybody does whatever they want, and so you can most times not predict. You can almost not predict the outcome of this thing.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back with more. Do join us again.
Sorry.
All right, welcome back. It's still Galaxy. Today we're looking at the task before the National Assembly as they resume from recess today.
Yeah.
You were saying that.
So like I was saying, where people do not follow laid down rules and regulation, the outcome of relationships, whether under a party, whether in the National Assembly, becomes unpredictable. So if anybody sits in one office, in one station, in one house to predict the outcome in the National Assembly, that person will just be going on a goose chase.
All right.
That's the reality.
Okay. Barrister, we'll still come back to you. Dr. Saka is still standing by from Oyo State and Ibadan. Let's take him quickly again, so we'll continue with more discussions here in Lagos. All right. Another issue we need to talk about, before the National Assembly is that of the approval for INEC's fund electoral bill and other top, on the agenda. Let us talk about the INEC's funds. It's been on even before, the research and all that. Specifically now, we have barely 4 months to the general election, so that's February 2019. What does all of this portend? Do you see a quick passage of this particular matter anytime soon?
I wish, and I think that will be the wish of majority of Nigerians, is that the needful be done fast, the fastest that can be, to get the legal framework approved for the fund to be given to INEC, so that INEC will not have any excuse, let alone a good reason, to misbehave, in quote. But, you know, that is just part of the mess we have in Nigeria. Why do we have to wait until 4 to 5 months before considering the necessary fund for INEC? The normal budgeting process is there. You have a year at least. Immediately the current something is approved, you have a year to plan for the next one. What was the executive looking at? Was this in a slumber? And it just it's just to be reminded that INEC needs money now. Was it not clear on the on the timetable of events, political events, that the election will be conducted in the early months of February, March next year, and that INEC will need fund? And now that it's now turned a normal routine affair, it's now turned into a crisis situation. For whatever purpose, I don't know. I hope it's not to manipulate the INEC so that it will do the bidding of the current government. Because one thing we have to credit the last PDP government for is the freedom, the latitude which former President Jonathan gave to INEC. In fact, some of us were intrigued by the level of liberal attitude which he demonstrated with, because we saw the symptoms that INEC might not be as neutral, as positive as the law would expect it to be. Nonetheless, President Jonathan insisted that he will not touch INEC, he will not touch any leadership in the INEC, and so he did. So, I hope the present government is not trying to manipulate the funding process to get a favor from INEC, 1. 2, you talked about the electoral law. I think it's now been sent to the president, maybe the 3rd or 4th time. I'm not apportioning blame, because if there is anything wrong in the draft, of course, it behoves the president to say this is wrong, this is right, and so on. But initially, the impression we were given is that the president was protesting the reordering of the process, that is, the sequence of elections. But that has been expunged from the amended something. And then there is no comma there. The draft, something is wrong there. The restructuring, there is conflicting something there and there. And I hope it's not intended to make it impossible for INEC to operate, especially on this card readers thing. It's crucial. And as I said earlier on, I'm not a lawyer, but at least from the judgments given in the court, the fact that the use of the card reader was not part of the law, but it was just a guideline, gave room for some people in some states to deliver unimaginable number of votes. I don't think I want to mention any particular state, but we had a state in northern Nigeria where more than 2 million votes were said to have been delivered, and you know, with little or no invalid ballot paper. I hope that will not be allowed this time around. And you know, some of the recent elections conducted indicated the effectiveness of this card reader to screen the unauthorized and illegal voters. If that is not, because that is part of the law, the bill before the president, I think if only for that, Mr. President should be magnanimous enough, if I'm not being magnanimous, should be dutiful enough to sign that act and not go under pretension or excuse and so on to allow illegality at the voting point, where they say use incident form to allow people who are not validly accredited to vote. I think that is my conclusion. Let the National Assembly put as a priority whatever it has to do today to approve the fund for INEC. I know the committee sat on it, but I'm not familiar about the procedure. Maybe if it requires the joint activity of the Senate and the House of Rep to get that done today, let it be the priority item to be settled today, so that adequate funds will be released to INEC on time to facilitate the effective administration of the election early next year. And two, Mr. President should be well advised to please sign the amended Electoral Act, so that all the problems taken care of that have been addressed in that act will have the framework, legal framework for execution. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Dr. Saka Balogo, PDP chieftain, who joined us from Ibadan in your state. We do appreciate your input and your comments on the show this morning. Many thanks to you. Now, Barrister Ahmed Abbas.
I do have a question concerning this Electoral Amendment Act. What is the repercussions if the President does not sign the Electoral Amendment Bill before, I think, the end of this month? Because I think he's rejected it like 3 times. I mean, they started this whole bill thing in February, and they were changing things such as election sequence, which they've removed from it. And then there's the principal officers and the issue of how much the aspirants can use for campaigning and politicking and all of that. So what are the repercussions if he doesn't sign the amendment bill?
See, the president, you see, in passing laws all over the world in democracies, there's room for presidents or executing authorities, at least whether as a governor, as a president, that could sign a law into existence, a bill into law. There are rooms that once you reject, depending on the jurisdiction, they make provision for probably twice or thrice, the National Assembly can go ahead and pass the law.
Without the assent of the president?
Yes, because you see, the essence of democracy is that the legislative house are the one normally who make law. The executive is to execute the law. So at a point in time, those who crafted democracy also know that, look, if you do not put checks and balances, it means the executive can also hold the National Assembly to ransom, to say whatever law you are passing, if I have absolute power not to sign it into law, it means I can perpetually, no matter how beneficial that law is, I can actually hold you to ransom and say I will not pass. So imagine a house sitting for 4 years, and the executive has the power to refuse assent to all bills, and that ends that tenure. It means a house can actually sit for 4 years without any law being passed if you give absolute power to the president. So there's a limit, because the assumption is that this National Assembly actually represent the people from different locality, and that they actually speak in the mind of the people. So when they pass a law and forward it to the president for assent, and the president refuses, for one reason, if he has legitimate reasons, like you have said, and all the rest of them, he would notify the assembly that I have a little challenge with this particular bill. Whether as a result of the inability to implement it, even if we are sent to it, there are some things I think probably is not in tandem with contemporary practices. So the National Assembly is also under obligation to look at legitimate and genuine concern of the president to effect it. And once that is effected, it is taken for granted that the president will pass the law in the interest of the people.
So as of this point in time, now that they've submitted the bill to the president 3 times, does the law allow them now to pass it into law without his assent?
It depends on what the House will want to do. it's possible for them to take it back to the
But
president.
what does the law say about it?
That's what I'm saying.
Because at the convention over the weekend,
Yes.
Ahmed Lawan, that's the Senate leader, and of course the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yusuf Lasum, said upon resumption they may pass security budget proposals and the Independent National Electoral Commission bill forcibly if need be.
Yeah, that's what I've told you. That's the position. If the president refuses to assent to the bill, and the National Assembly feels that all that the president has said concerning this bill has been addressed and all the rest of them, they could pass the law. Okay. It becomes a law.
All right.
Because the president cannot hold perpetually refusal to sign assent to a bill.
This is what we should be looking forward to as they reconvene, because it will be a lot. As we said, there's so much to look forward to.
But can I tell you something?
Yeah,
I'm telling you that probably the survival of the principal officers may actually dominate the resumption of the House.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Let's hear from Dr. Gideon O.C. Our guest in Lagos feels that the issue that might take front burner today will be the survival of the principal officers. In your opinion, is that going to hold sway today at the National Assembly, or other issues such as INEC, budget, and of course Electoral Act amendment? What's your take really on this particular issue?
The whole country is watching. As at last night and even this morning, Abuja seems to be a little bit tensed over what's going to happen today at the National Assembly. And I must say that it's a little bit of diversion from what is happening across the country. People are suffering. Nigerians are not finding things easy at all. But they want to continue to use drama to keep us away from the reality on ground. Truth be told, the leadership of National Assembly is purely a business of members of the National Assembly, be it Senate or House of Reps. It doesn't really strictly depend on the party line, because the whole House of Rep or members of the Senate can, as a matter of fact, sit together and decide who their leadership should be. And if that leadership is from a particular political party, be it the ruling party or the opposition party, it doesn't really make a difference, provided the best among the equals is chosen to lead them. I tell you, my good friend, our case is actually getting very much interested because, like you would see today, the members of House of Reps and members of Senate who are just returning from the primaries have different emotions with which they are coming back. Some are happy, some are not happy. To be able to gather the two-thirds majority required to remove the leadership will be impossible. That I'm confident about. But the only way the ruling party will be able to enforce their threat is to deviate from the norms of democracy and practice possibly autocracy and play all sorts of legislative gymnastics in order to remove the current leadership. But that is not how best to build our country, because today we already know that our democracy is a bit fragile. We are not there yet. And there's no need doing everything possible to remove the leadership of the National Assembly because they defected or they did not defect. Provided they meet the needed constitutional provisions for such removal, then there should be no problem. But if they play the ball by hook or by crook to remove the leadership of National Assembly, I tell you, it will not go well with this ruling party. Because already, one of the things that have placed this government in bad light is the fact that they were doing things without following due process, without listening to voice of reason. Such actions will continuously derail the goodwill with which they come into position. initially when this government came into power, there was so much goodwill across the country. But these approaches have really worked against them, and they should not continue in that same kind of approach. Looking at the INEC guidelines and INEC Electoral Act that would foster the next election and how it has gone, I tell you again that it is not in the best interest of the country that we haven't passed their budget at the moment, because we'll be trying to give them a reason to justify their failure, if any, in 2019. We should concentrate on the issues that will actually help this country to grow. INEC should be properly prepared, they should be properly supported, they should be properly equipped for the next assignment, because organizing an election in Nigeria is a very tough task. And if that is the issue that will be discussed today, it is better than going to the National Assembly and fighting over leadership of the National Assembly. Because already we know that it is not going to be easy for any one of them to override the already existing structure. And I think that Nigerians are watching, the international community, they are also watching. We want to see how well can the political party in power be able to manage the current situation and not disappoint the Nigerian population.
Gideon OC, just stand by. We'll still talk more with you now. Dr. Bass, you had his submissions. That's Dr. OC.
Did you just call me Dr. Abbas?
Dr. Barrister Abbas.
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes, no, it's okay. It's okay.
You had his submissions. He says the National Assembly ordinarily would not really want to pass bills, that will affect Nigerians as a whole. They'd rather just discuss issues that affects them personally as regards leadership and all of that. Let's talk about the Electoral Act amendments now, which is still before them. We just had an election in Osun State, which was declared inconclusive. We have several elections forthcoming not long ago. With all of this dilly-dallying and all of that, what don't you think that should also take center stage?
Justin, Nigerian case is becoming a case that I can't sometimes comprehend. Yeah. Someone was saying, one former ambassador of US was saying that Nigeria is actually the trouble giant of Africa. Yeah. There's trouble everywhere. And I think the challenge we have is that most of the leaders, whether it be in the executive, whether it be in the legislative house, do not have a sense of history of where the black man is coming from. That we have been a subject of ridicule for centuries. Our humanity is becoming a subject of serious academic interrogation. They are trying to check the DNA of the black man, whether there's something actually wrong with us as human beings. Are we humans, or we are just a little bit higher than animals? A country, a civilized nation, the president of a world power of reason called an entire continent shithole countries because the leadership class are dancing naked in the marketplace. We do not have the capacity to govern our people, enhance their value as human beings. What amazes me so much is that we see fine men and women who wear designer suits, designer wristwatches, wear designer cars, presiding over the poorest people on the surface of this earth. Yet they beat their chest as civilized, beat their chest as noble men, honorable men. Honorable, what is honorable about presiding over poor people, receiving so much wealth on behalf of these people that are constantly impoverished year in, year out, giving them pittance in this electoral era, buying rice, buying vote from both parties, PDP and APC, during election. It's amazing how we have a leadership class that is bereft of a sense of history. That we have the black race all over. Even the people in diaspora sometimes are ashamed of the country called Nigeria because the contradictions, they have no place in any knowledge book. You can't explain what is going on. That you could be so blessed as a nation, blessed with material, human resources. You can, at the same time, sit and live and die in perpetual and tangible poverty. While those that you elect to actually preside over the affairs of your nation do not even, they are so distant, they are so detached. You saw in UK, a man, a British minister, member of parliament, came late to the house when the issue relating to his constituency was being discussed on the floor of the house. Right there on the spot, he said, for coming late when I ought to be on my seat while my constituency's issue is being discussed in the house. I feel I've disappointed my people. Where was I? I ought to have been in the house earlier than now. I do not think I have the moral value or the moral credential to represent my constituency any longer, and I hereby tender my letter of resignation. People in the house were amazed. No, now. In fact, there was exclamation. Why will you do that? But these are people of honor. Nigerians are hungry. An average Nigerian is not interested in whether it is PDP that wins election or pride. All they want to be able to get to the bus stop, yes, and get transport at about 200 naira to their place of work and come back to their houses. An average Nigerian needs to be able to buy 200 naira bread to feed his family. An average Nigerian wants to be able to use his Tokumbo car, drive it on a road that will make the car to last 4 years, because since it doesn't have the capacity to change car every day by day. An average Nigerian just wants to be able to go into a medical facility and use about 3,000, 5,000 naira to cure his ailment. He doesn't want a situation where you need to be a millionaire for you to be able to access good medical facility. An average Nigerian just wants to be able to go to school and pay school fees that will enable him, in spite of the humble background that he came from, to be able to say, well, I am now a member of the educated class. An average Nigerian just wants to be able to wake up, go to his shop, and have energy, power to power his fridge, to sell his provision of Coca-Cola, of Sprite, and all the rest of them. This is what an average Nigerian is. They are not asking for something too much. They actually, in fact, Nigerians are one of the most humble set of people on the surface of this earth. And like I used to say, if I have the power, I will confer the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic on all the average Nigerian. If you go to my 12 there, you will see an average Nigerian who will roll a wheelbarrow from my 12 to Ikorodu with his yam in the morning to go and sell. And 11 o'clock in the night, you'll see them rolling back the yam, the ones that he's unable to sell. An average Nigerian is just looking for an environment. The younger ones, every day by day, are crying for an environment to enable them give expression to their God-given talent and potential. But the system is so choky, it's so suffocating, because the leadership class has forgotten the idea and the concept of public service. If there is anything, we need a leadership class that will help to redefine the concept of public service, serving the public, serving people, not serving themselves. Because as of today, the focus and the binoculars of government is to enrich them. It is only in Nigeria, and I want you to do a research as a media practitioner. It is only in Nigeria, my sister, that you will see a governor or a leader in public office will come into office very lepacious. You know what they call lepacious? Very lean, thin as myself. But look at them 4 years after being in office. Take their picture. Look, I'm giving you an assignment. Go Google Barack Obama 8 years before his presidency and 8 years after his presidency. You will see a man that has served his nation with his emotional energy, his intellectual energy, and physical energy. You will see the stress. You will see he came in with black, handsome hair. But after 8 years, Barack Obama is looking like a 60-year-old man. Bill Clinton, the same thing. But in Nigeria, the leadership will come because the perquisite of office is too much in this part of the world. That's why it's a do-or-die affair. They kill with guns, they assassinate opponents just to get to the court, because the biggest industry in Nigeria is politics. Get into politics, you're a multi-billionaire. You steal the people's money, nobody talks. And the people get poorer and poorer every day by day. Take their pulse. An average Nigeria is angry, very bitter. Some will travel, and if you see the number of people that are relocating every day by that of the shores of this country, go to your embassies and take a census. People, even when you interrogate some people, even they will tell you there's no hope for this country because of the antecedent of this leadership class. And you know the funny part is that the crisscrossing and carpet crossing, if you interrogate their reason, if you ask the Sarakis and all the rest of them, they said when we were coming, there was an agreement on how we were going to share the booty, the cake. And we got there now. They are not allowing us to eat out of the cake that we all bake together. That is the main reason. The main reason is not a contention that, no, APC is not advancing the cause of the average Nigerian. That's not the agenda. The agenda is that we were supposed to have nominated some ministers. And nominating those ministers, we need to have our boys, our men inside the corridors of power so that the benefits there, you know, we are godfathers, so that they can bring it to us. It's not about Nigeria. And so for me, I also subscribe tremendously that the way the country is going, I think we need to go back, because Nigeria is like an aircraft that is refusing to obey instruction mid-flight.
All right.
In the mid-flight. In Nigeria, it's like an aircraft that is malfunctioning mid-air. And we need to descend and look at ourselves, and then this aircraft won't take us to our destination. But if we keep saying our destination is sacrosanct, we have to keep going, I pray God will help us to get to where we are going. The honest truth is that we need men and women that will speak to the powers, that will speak, those that have the ears of the governors and the president. They need to tell them that this is not how you govern a country.
All right, Barrister Ahmed. Okay, let's take more comments from Dr. Gideon Osi as we get to the last moment of the show. Just to remind our viewers also that you can be a part of this discussion. I still await your SMSs. Send the messages you want. I can see posts from Facebook. You can interact with us on our social media platforms as well using the hashtag Galaxy Today. Let's talk about charting Oko's forward as the National Assembly resumes some plenary session today after 75 days recess. Dr. Osi, you've heard the discussion. You've heard the submissions and put forward by Barrister Ahmed Abbas. I just want to get your closing thoughts on all of this right now. You talked about the issues of Nigerians and their sufferings and should be in the focus of this discourse at the National Assembly. But so far, we are not seeing that. What are the preferable solutions, even as we expect more talks and debates from the National Assembly today?
Thank you, my good friend. I must commend the barrister for saying it the way it is again. There are so many Nigerians who are like him, speaking out there. But we just have to go beyond speaking and start acting. Because today, what is the reality is that sometimes you will see a former governor or an old politician, former this, former that, who is already very broke. A few other leaders will just come together and say, let us rehabilitate him. Let's send him to National Assembly. So every other person will be told to stand down, and you will send such a person to National Assembly in order to rehabilitate him. As if the National Assembly is an intensive care unit where you rehabilitate about dying souls. No country functions that way, my good friend. Again, you have people who have no business being in National Assembly, who should either be in their businesses, doing well in the global economy, or who should be in their houses, enjoying their retirement, coming to add stress on themselves. At the end of the day, they are 1 week in the hospital, 3 days in the National Assembly, and nothing is just working. I want to say it emphatically, that the people who currently occupy the Nigerian political space are pushing the average Nigerian towards the point of revolution, because they have continuously made sure that poverty remains. They've continuously made sure that illiteracy is on the increase. They've made it impossible for employment to be on the increase. Instead, unemployment pervades the country. That way, to be easy for them to buy votes, to control people, without remembering that if we don't grow, everyone is on the same boat. Like the barrister said, I agree totally with him. If you are occupying a political position, you have no business whatsoever flying a private jet as a governor, as a senator, or as a senate president. If you are occupying a political position, you have no business flying a business class in a country where people are finding it difficult to feed. If you're a businessman doing well on your own, and you do any of this, beautiful. It's your business. It's your money. But if it is the money of the poor taxpayer, then it is evil. It is unacceptable. It is wickedness of the highest order. What is happening in National Assembly is just another drama altogether to keep Nigerians busy while they begin to find a way to share the national wealth. And we don't know if these people have conscience at all. I therefore call on the younger generation, the youth of this country, to become more responsible, more prepared for leadership, because we must get there. It would not be right to say that we do not have the capacity. We have the capacity to lead. We may not just have the will as a people to do the right thing. This jostle and fight over power, that people put life in line, they will go to any extent to stop anybody from taking political position, means that we must prepare the National Assembly of the next 9th Assembly to change the situation, to change the rules. National Assembly should not be a permanent job. It should be a part-time kind of job. The payment structure must be very, very low. It should be for service, not for profit making. When we read the payment package of the National Assembly, you will see that so many people, very many people, will leave National Assembly and face other businesses. Only those who are prepared for service will now come to National Assembly. These are the reasons why we are saying that Nigeria must be restructured. Without restructuring, my dear brother, we are going nowhere. Both the rich and the poor will remain in the same boat. If they like, let them fly to the UK, to the US for medical treatment. Let them send their children to Harvard, to Oxford, or wherever. When they come back to Nigeria, we'll experience the same kind of hardship. The roads will be bad. The airports are not even in their best of forms. The educational institution is in a dilapidated manner. There's no standard within the academia. And of course, when you leave high population of unemployed people, you are breeding criminals waiting to exploit you. And so wherever you go, when you come back home, you are not safe. Let the rich, let the political class realize they are not just dealing with the poor, they are also dealing with themselves. It is time to do things differently. It is time to change the status quo and make Nigeria grow. Except we don't want Nigeria to exist.
Well said, Dr. Gideon Osi of the President Gideon Enjoy Life Leadership Foundation. Many thanks for sharing your input with us on the show. Before we get on the final thoughts of Barrister Abbas, let's take some of the comments so far. Nigeria is expecting a fair share of the Nigerians rather are expecting a fair share of the national cake. Good education, good healthcare, good road facilities, and a stable electricity. Who can give money back to the society? You're asking. All right, I am Sam from Gwarimpa. The only solution to Nigeria's problem is I can't take that. Nobody's asking Nigeria to break away. Thank you, sir. All what you are saying is the truth. May Allah help our poor people, to succeed. But in my mind, Nigeria has not changed in any way. That's Isa Mohammed. Let's see if we can take one more or two. Nigerians are suffering. Let them do something about the new minimum wage. That's from Magnus. All right, that's the messages we have so far. Keep them coming, and still interact and join the conversation on social media using the hashtag Galaxy Today. Barrister Ahmed Abbas, let's just conclude on all of this now. Someone is talking about minimum wage. Other people are talking about good facilities, Is this not our right? Some people are talking about restructuring. Ordinarily, should we be begging for these things? Are they not supposed to come to us as dividends of democracy for paying our tithe and all of that? Do we have to demand these things when ordinarily we should be enjoying them?
Yeah, it's our right. Let me just quickly say, you see, in developing a society, there's a science. Science, that's why in management, you say management science, political science, medical science, See, there is a science to everything. That is, there is always a way to develop. If we want Nigeria to develop, everybody is shouting and all the rest of them. Let me just start from the beginning. You said the first foundation of developing any society that there must be security of lives and property.
Sure.
The very institution that is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring security and order, the Nigerian police, as of today, is one of the most neglected institutions. You go to the police station to make a report. The police station doesn't have a stationery. That's why they collect money from people who come there. Are you aware that an average Nigerian policeman, go and ask them if they are your brothers and sisters, out of their little salary, they buy uniform by themselves. I don't know whether you are aware. They buy their shoes, they buy their belt, they buy their beret, they buy everything out of their salary. A man that you want to lay down his life has to buy has to buy uniform out of his paltry salary. What are you talking? That's how you compromise his capacity to even carry out his function. That's number one. You have institutions. Look, Justin, go to your filling station around the whole of Nigeria. I can tell you 90% of your filling stations have tampered with their meter. When you are buying 10-liter fuel, you're actually being shortchanged with about 2 liters or 3 liters. There are regulatory institutions, DPR, that go around. Sometimes they arrest a filling station manager for tampering with his meter. They take him into his car in the name of arresting him. They go around, something exchange inside the car. That same DPR officer will come back to the filling station and drop the man. There are million Nigerians like that who are contributing to the rot we find in our society. And we all say we are Christians, we all say we are Muslim. The presidents can't do that. Nigeria, it can never be well with Nigeria until each and every one of us accept responsibility that if they award us contract to build roads, we will build the roads. And if the man giving the contract does not build the road, there are agencies of government that should take responsibility to sanction such a person until those institutions work the way. One single individual cannot build Nigeria. Those institutions must be empowered, must be given people that have the courage to follow the objective for which those institutions were set up. You do not need to look. Once you are appointed EFCC chairman, don't look at the body language of the president. Ask him, Mr. President, are you appointing me as the EFCC chairman to go after financial criminals? Or I should be waiting for your body language? Do I have the discretion before I take the appointment? Because if you give me an appointment and tomorrow I'm trying to do my job in accordance with the laid down regulation, and you come to say, no, stop it, I will come out publicly to tender my letter of resignation. We need courageous men who will speak out, who will not be afraid of, because you see, most times these people get appointment not even sure of who they are as a person. When your self-dignity, your worth is intact, you are not looking for you are not looking for somebody to patronize you, and you are given an appointment. Do the appointment, do the job the way it's supposed to be done. And those that appoint you, if they want to hinder you, then with all sense of take your dignity intact and walk away from that job and let people know where you stand. Institutions are failing everywhere. I was in a university and we were doing a program and people were talking. It was a private Christian university. We were talking and everybody. I asked some of the lecturers there, all of you are running to a monastery. A Christian institution is a monastery because even the gate man to the vice chancellor, they are all Christian. The only place you can actually display your courage is to stand in a public place where every other around you do not share the same value. All of us must play our role. Right. The president cannot solve this problem alone. Everybody, wherever we are, stand for what is right. That is the only way Nigeria can be better.
All right, well said. A call has gone out to all Nigerians by Barrister Ahmed Abbas. We should stand in the right and do the right thing. The president cannot solve all of our issues for us. We just have to do our own part and do what is right and, shove corruption completely. That's, show the looking at the National Assembly resumption, after recess. Many thanks to all of you who have sent in messages and who have interacted, in that conversation on social media. We do appreciate it. Many thanks to you, Barrister Ahmed Abbas.
Thank you.
And of course, too, by Dr. Sakaba Logo, a PDP chieftain who joined us from Oyo Ibadan, said many thanks to you. And of course, Dr. Gideon Osi, the president of Gideon Enjoying Life Leadership Foundation, he joined us live from Abuja. My name is Justin Akadanya. See you again tomorrow.
And I'm Stephanie Ojadi. Do have a lovely day ahead.